Sober Talk with Brother Brandon, the Raging Cajun. It's the weekend, baby.
Testing. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for coming. I want to give a special shout out to United Tribes Counseling Department for putting this in partner with Sober Talk. I'm very thankful for that. But thanks everybody for coming out. It's the weekend, baby. I hope everybody had a great day, a great end of your week. I woke up sober today, and I plan on waking up sober tomorrow, and not in a jail cell, not in a trap trailer, and not hungover or sick. So that's by the grace of God, I've been sober and clean since February 12, 2018. So for all the mathematicians out there, last Thursday I made 8 years. Holidays, leap years, and vacations and weekends included. I'm originally from the West Bank of New Orleans, Louisiana. I've been up here since the day after Thanksgiving in 2015. I came up here to work at the gas plant in Beulah as a contractor, and I thought I was coming to ski slope and mountain resorts, and we got to big old Beulah, North Dakota, and it wasn't nothing but frozen tundra. And so yeah, the first 2 years here in North Dakota was when I hit my frozen bottom in life. I like to say frozen bottom, not rock bottom. Because this gets cold here. I'm talking about that cold that you can feel it in your bones and it stings. I started going in and out of jail, county jail. I remember when the first jail opened up, the new jail, I was the first person to sleep in one of those beds. But I remember the old man in jail too. I remember being in there, not knowing where I'm at, packed. It was packed to capacity, and me and a bunch of Puerto Ricans sleeping on the floor snorting coffee. I ain't never seen nobody snort coffee before in my life until I went to Mandan jail. That's where it gets real. You know? And yeah, in and out of jail. Snorting meth, I used to like that burn feeling. You know what I mean? The eye get red. It feels like your whole side of your brain starts to melt. And every meth baggie in the world should have two warnings on it. One, it should say the devil, and on the other side, two, it should say you will become homeless. You know what I mean? Because you're going to lose everything fast. You know what I mean? First, you get kicked out the house, then you sleeping in your car. And then you don't have a car, and then you're trying to make some friends. You know what I mean? It's hard to make friends in a blizzard. You ever tried that? You know what I mean? Trying to meet somebody at a gas pump or something. Hey, what's up? What you about to do? You know what I mean? I'm about to get in this car because it's freezing. And but yeah, you start roaming the trailer parks. You know what I mean? What y'all got going on? Got 10 people in there trying to all get high off a 20 bag, you know? It's crazy. I mean, the meth world will bring you the closest to hell you ever lived in your life. And I can say that for the God honest truth. And I can also say that God, Creator, whatever you want to call him, saved my life. You know what I mean? North Dakota saved my life. When you first get here, it's like, man, this place is whack. You know what I mean? It's just slow. But you had that culture shock. But after they put you in jail enough, you either gonna die or you gonna change. And God let me change. You know what I mean? So I went through the ring. Everything. People think their story is so different, but we all did the same stuff. You know, you had a lighter, no pipe, a pipe, no meth. You know what I mean? Meth, no pipe. You know, a phone, no charger. It was always missing something out the equation. You know, condoms, no girl. You know, and that's how it's always something missing. You know what I mean? Like, man, where I left that at? And so, well, they say only 2% of us come back from that depths of hell. You know what I mean? So, That's like 2% in the crowd right there, you know? And it's very thankful. I've lost family members. I'm pretty sure all of us have. We've lost friends. We've seen people die. You know what I mean? And all the craziness that comes with the vicious cycle of the disease that we all suffer from. And it's no one and done with this. You know what I mean? You could think you're doing good. You get your nice apartment, you get your SR22, get your license back, you get your kids back, you got groceries and everything in the house, PlayStation, and then you get bored. And then that built-in forgetter kicks in. Man, I wonder what they're doing around the corner. You know what I mean? And you got everything you need and everything you prayed for right there. But you know what you do? You go around the corner and you just forgot everything you just went through in the last year, months, years. You know what I mean? And so it's very tricky. We have a voice in our own head that lies to us in our own voice. So if you don't know that, boy, you out here going crazy. You know what I mean? And so I was able to learn that in sobriety. But first I had to be broken down, you know. Um, I had a lot of rascal in me. So I didn't get sober, or I didn't even try to get sober until I was 35. Um, and I just was looking at I remember I was in a Motel 6 in a free hotel room. Shout out to the United Way in 2017. It was so cold, it was giving free rooms at the Motel 6 for homeless people. And the whole hotel was full of drug addicts and homeless people and alcoholics. And I'm sitting in there by myself eating these dry pretzels from the food pantry with nothing to drink, drinking out the fountain, I mean the water faucet, and I'm crying. I'm waking up crying every day. Man, I'm 28 hours away from home. I'm 35. I ain't did my taxes in 10 years. I got warrants. I'm being revocated for like the third time. I haven't seen my daughter in 5 years. I owe 30,000 in back child support. I ain't talked to my family in a year and a half, and I think I got the clap. You know what I mean? It only burns every other time I pee. That's the type of lies we tell ourselves. You know what I mean? And and when I got sober and clean and got medicated and went to treatment, all that stuff I used to think crazy in my head, like I got cancer, I'm dying. You know what I mean? I went and got checked for everything. You know what I mean? And it's crazy because for years I got high and drunk thinking I was dying. It was just hemorrhoids. You know what I mean? And that's real because this is a real program that we in. You know what I mean? You can get all bougie and stuff in this program, but we was crackheads. You know what I mean? And we did crazy stuff in that crazy world. But God bless and Creator, thank you that we don't have to live like that no more. But yeah, go ahead. Mhm. But everybody make sure they sign up the sign up sheet for door prizes. That's how you're gonna get a free hoodie or a free t-shirt. I don't make the rules, I just follow them. And so yeah. So my first month of sobriety, I went to New Freedom Treatment Center. And, and I remember I walked in there, and that was the first time in my life that I ever asked somebody for help. Period. You know what I mean? A man, you know, as a man, you're supposed to suck it up. I was in the military. You're supposed to figure it out. And I went in there. I had been up for 4 days. I was all flailed out. I looked like E Honda off Street Fighter. My hands was going crazy. I had Bruce Lee hands. I was knocking stuff off his desk. And he said, "Yeah, we're gonna take your crazy ass." But he said, "Why should we take you?" I said, "I need help." You know what I mean? And that was the first time I ever asked for help. And I got to take my clothes out my black garbage bag. What y'all know about that black garbage bag? You know what I mean? I surrendered with a black garbage bag. I didn't have a white flag. And I got to put my stuff in drawers and sleep in a nice, comfy bunk bed. And I slept all the way to Tuesday evening. You know, they come wake you up and check your vitals, make sure you're still breathing. And I went to my first meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous at Shoulder to Shoulder on Tuesday evenings at the Bismarck Community Church. And it's a short speaker and a long speaker. And I was in there, I was like, man, these people look happy. You know what I mean? They got haircuts and shiny bald heads and they dress nice. I ain't supposed to be no bum. You know, I had every intention of taking a shower every week, but I was so paranoid my PO was about to kick in the door. I'd be hopscotch in the shower. You know what I mean? Watching the front door. And and so and so when I was in treatment, I figured out I heard about Hope Manor Sober Living, and Teen Challenge. But Teen Challenge, you have to sign up for 18 months, 2 years. I was like, but I was willing to do anything. I didn't have no more options left. My scorecard read zero. And I didn't want to go back to the Motel 6 and feel that pain. You know what I mean? Um, and so I signed up for both of them. And I kept calling Hope Manor, kept calling. And then finally, they came meet with me. Megan, she like a sister to me now. Um, and Judith. But Judith used to be super scary to me. You know what I mean? She a judge now. You don't want to meet her in a private room before she'll have you sweat. But so I met with Megan, and she said, "Look, it's strict. You gotta do all this stuff, and you need $500 to get in." And I said, "Ma'am, I don't have a dollar. I don't have a stick of gum. I'm actually negative about $60,000." I said, "But if you give me this one chance, I won't let you down." So I got a front on my new life. You know what I mean? You know how we used to always get fronts? You know what I mean? Like, come on, man, I got you. But I got a front on my new life. It was the best front I ever got, you know? And so I left treatment and I showed up at Hope Manor's doors. And rest in peace, Brian Thomas, my brother. He opened the door and he was the manager. And he said, "Welcome home." Not pee in this cup. You know what I mean? So I peed in the cup and I passed. And it was 12 guys living in a house together. They had two managers. Dave Mann was the other one. And it was a bunch of young dudes though, smoking these fruity vapes. I ain't even heard of a vape. Who smokes that? You know what I mean? I want a cigarette. I want some dope. You know, and uh and yeah, and I was like, man, these dudes cut like a bunch of weenies. I don't know if I'm gonna last here. You know, they rat on you for farting in the hallway. You know, and so yeah, I had to find a sponsor. A sponsor is a mentor that's been in recovery, has been through the steps, and they help guide you. You know what I mean? And if you're lucky, God or creator will put the perfect person in your life for this. And that's what happened to me. And so everybody make sure they sign up on the sign up list if you want to get a free hoodie or a free t-shirt. Um, and so I got my sponsor the first week I was there. They said I had to find a job. I got a job the first day I was there at Jiffy Lube. You know what I mean? And I was used to having like big oil paying jobs. And I hated it, making $10 an hour and y'all yelling at me too. I'll burn this place down to the ground, you know? And but it was the most humbling thing that ever happened to me in my life. And I worked there for 3 years and I don't know how I survived. Because you work 2 weeks, my check would be $60. You know what I mean? Because everybody want their money when you start working. Child supports, credit collectors, the courts. You know what I mean? And so I'm working 2 weeks, getting yelled at, and I got $60. I don't even have enough money to buy me a pizza. You know what I mean? I got to get this money to Hope Manor. And I used to get mad. Like they had all these weenies sitting in the kitchen and they ordering pizzas and doing all this stuff. And I'm like, man, I want to order a pizza. I'm going to the food pantry eating sardines, you know? And but the two things I learned in those 3 years is one, money ain't everything. And two, creator God will provide what you need and not what you want. If you living right, God gonna provide what you need and not what you want. Because I didn't have my SR22. I had bicycle. You know what I mean? And I think that was one of the factors that helped me quit smoking cigarettes. I smoked my last cigarette I bummed from somebody at Hope Manor's back porch. And riding from Jiffy Lube up north on a bicycle on a timer, you got 15 minutes, you know what I mean? Boy, you'll quit smoking quick, you know? And that's where I started my journey. And I got a home group. It was the home group. It used to be in the backyard of Hope Manor called the Sanctuary. And it was a meditation group where we would meditate and write and then speak about what we wrote on. And so that was my first home group. And then I had to listen to these 18 CDs, boring CDs of Roger B. Roger B was at Rule 62. He was the guy doing the audio, selling all the DVDs and the recordings. And it was so boring. I was like, man, this place sucks. And I heard him say something one day. He said, "Yeah, when I came in this program, I had did my taxes in 10 years." And I was like, I need to talk to that guy because I don't know where to start with my all my problems. I had a duffel bag full of mail that I hadn't opened in a year. I would just get something and throw it in the duffel bag because I couldn't do life no more. It was just too many problems. I just had to get high and drunk every day to get through life. I don't know if y'all can relate with that, but that's what my experience was. So so I started meeting people, church people, people at sweats, family function, like positive stuff. I remember the first day I went to Evangel Church, I was spooked. I was like, man, all these happy daytime people. I was used to being up at night with the Google monsters. You know what I mean? And so I started to speak up, and people started inviting me to their houses and stuff, and I felt out of place. Man, don't you know I was still out your medicine cabinet? You know what I mean? And people actually started to trust me, you know what I mean, and treat me like a human being. And so 6 months sober, blessings started happening. In AA, it's called the promises. So I finally got my SR 22, and the owners of Jiffy Lube gave me a 1998 Chevy pickup. It's sitting outside right there. And that it cranks up every blizzard, And they gave it to me. So I had a vehicle. You know what I mean? And I was like, man, it had checkered flags on it and strobe lights. It was the pace truck for the racetrack in Mandan. I pull up at the meetings with the strobe lights on and stuff. I was pimping, and then at 18 months sober, the week I made 18 months sober, I got a call out the blue. My baby mama called me, said, come get your son. I'm about to lose everything I got. I said, I'm on my way. I was like, y'all clock me out. I was running red lights and I got him. And then I didn't know what to do with him. You know what I mean? I'm checking in the middle of the night, see if he's still breathing and stuff. He wasn't potty trained. He couldn't talk. He was neglected. And so I went on full daddy mode. You know what I mean? I put him through all the therapies and everything, but that's something I prayed about. So when you start praying about stuff in sobriety, it may take a day, it may take a month, it may take years, but you got to be ready when that blessing comes. I say it again. You got to be ready when that blessing comes because when it comes, you got to be able to handle it. You know what I mean? And never let your blessings turn into your burdens. Stuff you prayed for, and then you get it, and then a couple years later, you're like, man, I gotta go do this. You prayed for that. You know what I mean? Don't look at it as a burden. Look at it as a blessing. You know what I mean? And so that's how I started. I tried a relationship at 2 years sober. That didn't work out. You know what I mean? I remember this old man told me once. He said, "Boy, you're doing good. You're going to meetings. You're volunteering. I see you doing the service work." He said, "But see these recovery girls? They're nuts. Stay away from them. Get you a nice church girl or something." And yeah, it didn't work out. You know what I mean? Sometimes when you move in with somebody, you figure out they more crazier than you. And so yeah, I tried that. And then I was blessed with my own place because even though you stay sober and you get all these blessings and you doing all this stuff in the community, on paper it still says you a felon and you still got that bad credit. You know what I mean? So you could try to get you a nice little apartment somewhere, and you know what they're gonna say? Nope. You know, and so it was hard to find a place. I asked somebody at church. He said, I own an apartment building. It's not top notch, but you can move in and just pay me when you get the money. Another blessing from God. Another blessing from Creator. The promises. And so I lived in this place above a bar in Mandan for 3 years, never drank once. Because I was happy and grateful every day. I had my own place, me and my son. And and then Sober Talk fell into my lap. Another blessing from God. This dude I ain't had seen in a while. We ran into each other. He hit me up, and he said, "Man, I'm managing a radio station. Think you should come check it out." I went to check it out. He was like, "I heard you speak before. I think you should start your own show." And so we came up with Sober Talk, and that's how this was created. And I used to just do it on Friday nights on a radio station in the basement of a church to stay sober. It was just something for me to do. And then more blessings start happening. You know, um, I like to say my life ain't perfect, but I'm grateful for it. You know what I mean? Last year was the most amazing year I've ever had in my life. I got married. Man, I was a player from the Himalayas. I got married. You know what I mean? And for me to get married, if you know me, that's a big step. You know what I mean? But I actually got on my knees. It was hard though to do that. It was hard for me to get on my knees and say, God, bring me a wife. You know what I mean? So I can have a foundation for my son. And I did it, and it came. It didn't came how I thought it. I think thought it was gonna come, but it came. I also got a full pardon from Governor Armstrong Kelly. Yep, I got a full pardon. I still can't believe it. So that means that I'm no longer a felon, and I no longer have 8 misdemeanors. You know what I mean? And I never thought in my life I could get a pardon. You know what I mean? The judge used to say, "You're a threat to society." You know what I mean? And I actually thought that. You know, I was like, can't get right. You know what I mean? I'm a lifer. But but I got a pardon. Um, and I was able to reconnect with my daughter. You know what I mean? About 3 years sober, I was able to go out to Virginia and make an amends to my daughter. The last time I seen her, she was like 10. Now she was almost 16. Talk about from here to there. And that was the most realest shit I ever did. You know what I mean? It's like, man, where all that time went? You know what I mean? I'm lost in the sauce somewhere in a trap house, you know, trying to get a little frosty off a pipe for all them years. And my daughter's over here growing up. And so I made an appointment with her. I said, look, tomorrow or next day, can we have some alone time so I could talk to you about some things? And so that's what we did. And it was the most, how should I say, the hardest amends because a lot of people, you know, you do an amends and they'll be like, just keep doing what you're doing, baby. You know what I mean? I'm glad what you're doing. And that's it. Not this one. I had to sit there and take it because you can't react. All you could say is, this is what I did wrong. I'm not sorry because I had a girlfriend one time. And every time I used to not come home or be messed up, she'd be like, another sorry MF. And I'd be like, I'm really sorry, baby. You know, and so I don't say sorry. I say I apologize. The sorry don't mean nothing no more. We didn't use that up. And so I told her I apologize for not being in her life, you know, for all those years. Um, and the things I said about her mom and, you know, just all that years of stuff. And then I said, did I leave anything out and how can I fix it? And then she started talking. Nobody was here to teach me how to ride a bike. Nobody was here to teach me how to swim. Nobody was here for my first period. You know what I mean? All the real stuff. And I had to sit there and take that. Now that's when it gets real. You know what I mean? And we have a great relationship today. She's in college and she was here. She stood in my wedding. So all the stuff I prayed about a long time ago, having both my kids, letting my mom, their grandmother, see both my kids, both her grandchildren. I through this program, I was able to accomplish all of that, and um, and I'm very thankful for that. And so today, you know, like I said, life's not perfect, but I'm thankful. I'm thankful for the life I've had. And people be like, "Man, you ain't even got no more charges or nothing like that. Why you still in North Dakota in that cold?" You know why? Because my life has never been this steady. You know what I mean? My life used to be up, down, all around. And this is the best life that I've ever had. So this is home base, but we travel. You know what I mean? And I don't want to mess it up. I don't want to just jump ship and move somewhere and then fall off. You know, why change something if it ain't broke? So I just keep doing my thing. You know what I mean? And like I said, I ain't perfect. I make mistakes. God knows that. We all make mistakes. But if you got Creator on your side, you're going to be standing here for 8 years sober. You're going to be standing here doing things that God put in your life. I didn't think about none of this stuff. I've been talking smack my whole life, not in a good way. You know what I mean? This is the purpose creator God put in my life, so I continue to do it. And nothing can stop it. Nobody can stop it. You're gonna have to kill me. You know what I mean? You literally gonna have to blow my brains out. And I don't even think that's gonna happen. I'm like Bruce Leroy, I'll catch it with my teeth. You know what I mean? And but I like to call my wife up here next to come share a little bit about her story and her experience, strength, and hope. But thank y'all for listening and thanks for coming. Uh, and I hope y'all have a great time. Teresa? So I'll just tell y'all a little bit. So so my wife was incarcerated in New England for 5 years flat. And I've been able to bring her back there twice as a civilian inside the same prison to speak her story.
Hello. Okay, you can clap now. No, I'm just kidding. Just- my name is Teresa Guidry, formerly known as Teresa Ekdahl, number 36883 at New England Women's Prison. I have been officially clean and sober off all substances as of today for 3 years. um, I'm going on 9 years clean from meth. So, but 3 years off of everything officially. So I don't even smoke cigarettes anymore. I'm very proud of myself for that one. I don't know if any of you are smokers, but you know how hard it is to quit. I told myself I was never going to do it. I also told myself I was never going to quit drinking either, and here we are. So, um, I let's see a little bit about myself. Well, my journey started in Turtle Mountain Indian Reservation, Chippewa Band of Chippewa. I graduated school, however, from New Salem, right outside of Mandan. Um, so my family or my mom moved us off of the Turtle Mountain Reservation when I was like 10 or 11, and we moved to Devil's Lake, North Dakota. Not a far cry from where I started, but a little bit different. Enough to where when I'm going to school there, people are asking me, why do you talk like that? You know? So that's kind of like where my life changed a little bit. I don't, you won't hardly hear it in my voice now. My husband does get to hear that side of me every now and then when I'm a little bit angry, but that's about it. So this was like a huge wake up call for me. I moved from Turtle Mountain where we're a really tight knit community to someplace I had no idea there was any other different types of people. The diversity change was just like a slap in the face in some places. Not only that, we moved from Devil's Lake to Iowa. So in Iowa was also a complete change. They have a lot more snow than we do sometimes, it looks like. But so long story short, my family moved around a lot. So I've been diversified by the time we hit New Salem at the age of 13, just in a matter of like 3 years. Um, New Salem, however, really changed my whole aspect on life. Um, for the first time in my life, the first question out of a girl's mouth was, have you had braces? And I thought, what a weird question to ask somebody. The second odd question that I was asked, or more, not a question, I should say, the second odd thing that I experienced in this school was racism. Um, I was Native and I did not know that there was a place where people could harm you like that. Um, every day in school, I was, um, there was a heckler, the calling me these little names that were like, what did you just say to me? And do you know who I am? Like, growing up, me and my neighbor would just fight for fun. Every morning, me and Pootie were lacing up our shoes, looking at each other like, are you ready or who's ready first? We're going to meet at the park and just go rounds for fun. And so moving to this neighborhood was completely opposite that. You put your hands on somebody, you're going to jail, even as a juvenile. So I kind of experienced that a little bit in high school, and that's kind of where like my drinking career took off. I started smoking cigarettes. I was any chance that I could get away with my friends because I'm the oldest of six. I was popping hydros and drinking gallons of vodka and smoking cigarettes until I couldn't stand up. So this carried on for a few years through high school when I met my biological father, who then taught me how to sell weed for a living. Um, so, I became good at business, is what I say on my resume nowadays. Um, Anyways, I did graduate high school, thankfully. My uncle from Arizona called me my junior year, which was the year that I really started to slip. I went from having like like a 3.2, 3.5 to, hey, we're not going to pass her if she doesn't do something. So I get a conversation from my uncle who says, I'm going to tell you something about your future that you probably don't know. You're not going to have one if you don't graduate. And long story short, it was a good slap in the face, right? Like nobody wants to hear that if you don't straighten up and graduate, you probably aren't going to make it. And so it did something for me. I graduated actually with a business scholarship to Ockers Business College. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but somehow I took business classes in my senior year in high school. I was totally, completely, it was a blur to me. I think I smoked weed and drank vodka so much that I don't even know how I graduated. But after high school, with that scholarship, I did nothing. I moved to Arizona back with my uncle because I tried meth for the first time and my parents found out and they sent me away. My uncle is military, a Marine in the military special forces, and he thought that he could lock me down. It lasted maybe 17 days and I was jumping his fence. So this was pretty much the story of my life though. My whole drinking career, my whole addiction was very similar. I'm going to run from my problems. I'm not going to face them head on. Um I stand before you today like really proud of myself that I have faced a lot of demons that chased me around my whole life. Men was one of them. And so what do you do when you're being chased by men all the time is you turn around and you learn how to like defend yourself against them, right? So when I went to prison in 2017 for the second time, I went there undefeated. I was a champion in my own eyes. I was like, I am the strongest person that I know. Nobody is going to tell me any different. Um, and then I was being drug out, in the hog tie position on so many occasions that I was like, this is basically the only way that I'm going down. So many years of that lifestyle led me exactly where I was in 2017 with an attempted murder charge on my way to prison. And if anybody knows me in this room, I don't take that sitting down, especially if I'm not guilty of it. So I fought tooth and nail against that charge because it wasn't true. And if you were looking at my record, you would think that it was, because I had this violent history of nobody's going to pick on me. I was the victim. And that may have been true in a lot of cases, right? But in my addiction, it became a crutch. In prison, when you're stuck with how many girls was it? 10 to a room, 16 in orientation. How many dorms we had in one hallway for years on end, and you can't stand the person that you're looking back at. If you've ever felt the like deep force or pull of depression and anxiety and PTSD and coming down off of drugs and alcohol, you know what that feels like, right? I'm going to rip my skin off right now, pull my hair out. I feel like I could run into a wall and it will come down crumbling, right? I couldn't take it anymore. I reached out for help. I didn't know who to talk to, and I never would talk to anybody. I was the person that I got this. Nobody's going to help me. I'm going to be the one to do it. I was wrong. I could never do it on my own. And right now, everybody that I speak to on a daily basis, I'm a peer support. I work for All of Us in Recovery. It's going on a year already, so fast in April, and I can't believe it. But anybody who knows me knows that the first who I owe a lot of my sobriety to is the women at DWCRC, Melissa Ward and Allie. I always say her last name wrong. Winner. They helped me. They pulled that strength out of me. You know, it was like, hey, you can let your guard down. We're here for you. And every single day for the rest of my sentence, after the first time I asked for help, I was working on myself, trying to change the things that made me defensive, angry, bitter, helpless, those type of things. I got rid of that. And when I walked out prison, I was a completely different person. Not a single person in my life looked at me and recognized me because I was positive, happy. I was able to let things roll right off my back like a duck. Like they say, be like a duck, let it roll off your back. And I'd never been able to do that in 20 years of my life, maybe even less, maybe less than that, give or take. So, and the second that I owe a lot of my continued change in sobriety is my husband. Um, a lot of people don't really know the softer side of him. I do. He's always been my number one supporter. I went through some pretty severe depression and anxiety moments when I got out of prison due to being incarcerated. I wasn't there for very long, but 5 years is enough when you do a lot of it in the hole. So I would have severe anxiety. Like right now, I'm shaking like a leaf. I'm like one of those little chihuahuas. I'm about to pee on stand right here, nervous. But he pulled me out of my shell, the ever so social butterfly. And I was only that person when I was drunk. So, today I'm a lot stronger and I never really had a good relationship with my parents or my family members. I was so independent, so strong by myself that I couldn't even relate to my family members. And now I do have a really good bond with, I call my mom, my dad on a daily basis sometimes, or sometimes we don't talk for months, but you know what I mean? Like it's getting stronger every day. He always talks about the promises in AA and things like that. And I never walked through the steps. I still have a really strong will to survive. But I do go to meetings. I love meetings. I think they're great. Um, and now I'm just a peer support and I love it. I love helping people. It's the only thing that takes me outside of myself. But just recently, I almost fell off into depression really, really, really bad. And I had to ask for help one more time. So if it wasn't for that moment, I probably wouldn't even be smiling in front of you guys right now. I'd be at home hiding. So that's all I got for you, but thanks for having us. And I hope you guys have a good night. Don't forget to sign in if you haven't signed in yet for the door prizes. One through 25.
Yeah. Pick a number from 1 through 25.
17.
Danielle Peltier. Go see Amy. Yay. Another one.
Four.
Monica. Monica. Yay. We'll do one more. Okay. We could do one more.
22.
April. Yay. Go see Amy.
You're ready with the theme song. And then look at this on the mic. Oh. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Sober Talk with Brothers Brandon, the Raging Cajun. It's the weekend. baby. Man, I hope everybody's having a beautiful week. It's a beautiful day to be sober, alive, and free. Free from the jail cells, free from the addiction, the alcoholism, and free to be able just to enjoy life in the simpler things. But today's show is being sponsored by United Tribes College right here in Bismarck, North Dakota. They have the annual international powwow here every year. And I want to thank them for having us today. Also, today's show is being sponsored by Tied for Second, Sober Living, and Freedom Family Center. And shout out to The Ridge in Fargo, North Dakota, the House of Fade, Treasures of the Sea and Earth, Many Visions, and Preferred Heating and Air. But I got a special guest in the house tonight, the big man on campus. I got the president of United Tribes College. How you doing, brother?
Pretty good. Doing well. Doing well.
You want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Russ McDonald, I'm alcoholic.
How you doing, Russ?
All right. I'm doing well, man. It's a
Yeah.
little bit busy today, but I'm sober.
Okay. Well, that's a good step. You know what I mean? Because we get so busy in life sometimes that we forget about that. You know what I mean? Or just the part that we woke up today. You know what I mean? How long have you been sober and clean?
July 15th, 1994.
Whoo! How many years is that?
If I make it to July 15th, it'll be 32 years.
32 years, folks. Congratulations, brother. Well, on behalf of Sober Talk and all the people in recovery, I have some gifts for you. So I have this beautiful clock, handcrafted by Cornerstone Woodwork, uh, United Tribes College, and Sober Talk. And that's yours. You can put it in your office. You can put it in the hallway. Whatever you want to do with it, it's up to you.
I think we'll go ahead and put it up here in the wellness center and in our just kind of helping us to be well here and get some healing going on. So I appreciate their good work, and
Yeah.
I think it'll be best served there.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Also, I got a hoodie for you and 2 t-shirts. And we'll just show the people what we got here. Okay, so one, I got the logo on the front.
Oh, all right.
And sober and clean for 32 years almost, folks.
Looks like he's got my size too. All right. Thank you.
Then let's see what this one is. And this one says, your story is your glory.
All right.
Because your story of 32 years,
Amen.
that's
Amen.
definitely a story. And I got this special made hoodie for you as well. It says your story is your glory.
Beautiful.
And our logo on the front.
All right.
So that's
Thank
for
you, brother.
brother.
Thank you, sisters.
So how long have you been president of the college?
We're going into the 12th year now.
12 years.
Yeah. October 27th, I got hired here, and
Is this your first presidential position?
yep. But
Okay.
I was chairman for our tribe too at one time, so
Okay.
prior to coming here. So
And what tribe is that?
Spirit Lake tribe, and located just kind of northeast from here. I just came back from there.
Yeah.
Yes,
How was the drive? Were the roads okay?
Yeah, the pretty icy. Once you north south is icy. This other way, interstate was all good, but I had some court stuff I had to go to for my dad. So,
Okay.
but so I wasn't in court for anything else.
Um, what's your Native American name? And what is the meaning of it?
Mato Jojo, and Mato is bear, and Jojo is whistling.
Okay.
So whistling bear.
Okay. Well, they can hear you coming. What inspired you to be a leader, and what makes UTTC unique among all the different tribal colleges?
I think the uniqueness here is that we're governed by 5 tribes, and so we're the second tribal college in the nation. The tribal leaders of the tribes here in North Dakota seen the need for workforce development training for education for their people. They came together. There was support from Congress. There was support from here in the city. And so as a result of that, they were able to establish United Tribes Technical College here, which initially was United Tribes Educational Training Center, on this old fort here, the old soldier fort that they built to kind of watch the Indians.
Okay.
So we turned it around here, and now the Indians are own the fort. So
Mm.
going in a good direction, and we're doing higher education for our people, and it feels pretty good.
What year was this created?
They initially put the paperwork together in 1968. They applied for a grant in that spring in 1969. They received it that spring, late spring, and then they hired July 15th. And then the first classes that they provided here was on September 8th, 1969.
Okay. Um, what type of uh degrees or some different avenues? If someone was to look into United Tribes College, what are some degrees that you give here?
Well, we have certificate programs, and then we have associate 2-year degree programs, and then we have 4-year degree programs.
Mhm.
So really, wherever the students at in regard to their needs and what they want to get, because we get folks that want to come in, they want to get some training, and they want to be out there, and they want to be making some money.
Right.
So they'll come in the door. Just for an example, like our CDL program, come in, get the CDL license, get right back out the door, but we're running out of semester. But there's been some changes on a national level in regard to legislation for Pell Grant opportunities, which helps us pay for college,
Okay.
especially those that have come from low income families that are low income. And the 70% of our students here are low income. So they're coming in the door. They don't really have enough to afford college on their own. So the Pell Grant helps them to pay for that college. But CDL is one that we're developing to be a short-term training program, which is starting July 1. And what would happen then is that you'd be able to come in here for a month, get the training, and be back out in the door with your CDL.
You got to
And
pass the test though, right?
right. You got to pass the test. You got to be drug free in order to get a commercial driver's license. You got to
Mm.
pass the physical, and you got to pass the driver's license.
And if you have a CDL, you have got the license. What happens when you get a DUI?
You're out. You're out.
Yep.
So you have to go through the process in regard to DUI, and the classes get suspended. So your livelihood's gone if you don't stay clean. So um, and I just seen a sign coming in here, and I was looking at it, and starting pay that for this company was 61,000 a year, 401k, and health insurance, and I seen all of those for a commercial driver's license.
Mm.
So so there's plenty of opportunity for something for just for a certificate program.
Right.
And so if we can get our act together here by July 1, which we're doing, our academics is on it, that certificate will be ready to fly by then. And people can come in the door, especially if they've already passed the test and have their permit, then they can go right to driving, get them ready for the test, get them tested, and then get any endorsements they may want to get. Because you can't when you get the commercial driver's license, you're not just automatically driving a truck, but there's additional endorsements that you may need, like if you're going to drive a bus, and there's plenty of bus driving jobs around here
Like
too.
hazmat, different things
Yeah,
like that.
another endorsement there, tankers, doubles, so quite a bit of different endorsements. And the more endorsements you have, the more money you can make.
Does the campus have a truck for people to drive,
Yep.
like practice?
We got 2 trucks, and um, Marathon Petroleum was one of them, one of the companies that helped us out and helped us buy a vehicle, and as well as a bit of a tractor trailer combo that we use for that. Theodore Jamerson Elementary School is located here on campus. They were getting ready to trade off their old bus. So we said, well, and they were just going to get 5,000 for it. So we said, well, let us buy it on our side, on the academic side. So we bought the bus, and then now we use the bus to help our students get the bus endorsement.
Amen to that.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, what are some of the 4-year degrees that a person can get here?
There's elementary education. So if you want to be a teacher, so that's pre-K through 5, for elementary ed. We have the environmental science degree. We have fisheries and biology, and then our most popular programs are criminal justice and business administration.
Okay.
So business administration being the number one. So a lot of business jobs out there, and folks see that, and they're coming to get that training to go home and work and take up those jobs.
Awesome. What does leadership look like in Native American communities versus mainstream institutions?
I don't feel like it's really the same. I worked at UND for a while. I mean, I don't feel there's any difference too much. We talk about sometimes I hear our people going to put us down a little bit and say, hey, it's from the res or, things along those lines. But I worked in a University of North Dakota system for 10 years, 11 years. And so what we seen back home, I seen up there within that system. So I think we have to realize that we're no different than anybody else, and that and if we're going to be efficient operations in regard to serving our people, then we have to do our best to refine those processes in order to serve our people. So if there's opportunities for advancing our systems or the way we do things within a department setting, and then expanding that to the entire operations of the organization, then we could do better. I mean, then we're going to do better overall. It's like raising all of our people, So we when you my undergrad and my master's are in sociology, and so when you look at sociology theory and methodology, what we see is that if you want to improve society, then what you need to do is focus on those that are in most need. And with those that are in most need, if you do that, then you lift the entire society. And I think that's our goal as far as education is concerned, to do that work, to focus on our people who are in need, and to help them to get that step up themselves.
Yes, sir.
There's a lot of hard workers out there. We have our culture doesn't say lay around and be lazy, So a lot of us grew up working hard and stuff. So I mean, so incorporating that into education, and then having education in place, and then when combined with work ethic, will help us raise our systems
Yes, sir.
and nation build. So.
What legacy do you hope to leave at United Tribes College whenever you retire?
Well, we're going to get that new gym built. So we got a we have a master plan in place here,
Okay.
and so in that master plan says what we're gonna do with the campus, and how we're gonna put our streets, and what buildings we're gonna build, and that type of thing. So one of the first things that we had on the list was that new entrance.
Okay.
So we just finished that up last right around tribes time during the powwow. So that went up. We raised our flags at on Thursday, and so that's kind of in operations. And then we got a little bit more money to do this intersection over here, and so that's all new road. And then we got a little bit more money here this year. We're going to connect that intersection with that front entrance, so that'll be new street all the way from that entrance all the way over here to Theodore Jamerson Elementary School. So that'll kind of lift up when you look at the place and say, hey, even though it's an old fort, we're making some changes here in order to look like a college and to feel like a college. So when a student comes to campus and they come in here, and they're not coming into that old soldier fort entrance, but rather they're coming into this entrance of a college. And I felt that was like it was kind of like the least amount of money too overall.
Right.
And so we really focused in on getting that part done. And the other part, that we talked about the new gym and stuff. Part of that master plan is we did an assessment, and then with a capital fundraiser, which basically they do is they do fundraising to help build buildings. And so, and when they did an assessment for us, and what they found is that we were most able to raise money was in athletics. Anything that was athletic, there was strong support out there. So if we focused in on that, then they thought that we could raise the money that we needed. So that's why we concentrated on a gym for cutting our teeth on fundraising, because we weren't doing it really.
Mm.
And so we're doing some fundraising like the events week, and we've fundraised for scholarships. And that's just that 1 week of events. We got Tribal Leaders Summit, we got the Thunderbird Run, we got the softball tournament, we got the golf tournament, we got the powwow. And so we raised money that way. And last year, uh, we were clearing about 180K, and so but that was going into operations of the college.
Mhm.
And so we changed that over though, and we said, well, hey, I think we're okay in regard to the grants that we're receiving to do operations. So let's turn around and give that money to the students. So we created this scholarship program out of those funds, and then we implemented some strategies in order to be more cost effective. And as a result of that, then we were able to clear 250,000 last year,
Mhm.
and the previous year clear 300,000. So what we did with that money is we put 50,000 out right away to the students in regard to scholarships. We took the remaining 250. This 2 years ago. Made that 250, created an endowment, put that money in there. Last year we pulled that 50 off the top, gave that to students, put that 200 in an endowment. So now we're just right around 750,000, and
Yeah.
we didn't want to touch it,
Oh.
so we left it in there. And then and we hopefully this year we're going to break that $1 million mark on there, and then we'll be able to pull scholarships out of there plus the events week monies and put that out there. And we don't, the minimum scholarship we do is 1,000 per scholarship.
Mhm.
And so, and then pull that money out and we'd have enough for $1,000 scholarships every year going forward.
Yeah.
So I think feels like we're on the right track.
Yeah.
But
Making a difference.
exactly, absolutely.
Now you talked about Pell Grants on the federal level. Is it going up or is it going down? They taking it away? They giving more? What's going on with that?
Well, it's staying even right now. It's
Okay.
staying even, and you get about I think it's 3,600 a semester.
And that's from the
Yeah.
federal government?
Yep. So you gotta meet those income thresholds though. So if you're kind of making good money and you're trying to go back to school, there's kind of a
Yeah.
transition period where you might
Yeah.
not get that, but if you stick it out past that year, your income will drop down, and then you'd be eligible for those funds. So and it's different, so you get some tribes here in North Dakota or wherever, is that they might have $1,000 per semester to support their students, but you have like the MHA Nation and Standing Rock Sioux tribe, who are river nations. And so what happened is that when they built the dam up here, Garrison Dam, and they built the dam down below, dams. And what happened is that they flooded.
Damn dams, huh?
Yeah,
Those damn dams.
they flooded the lands of our people in AAA farmland. So our people were really um, agricultural, especially MHA Nation area. They flooded their lands, and then they had to move them upward to less producing lands. But as a result of that, is that those tribes are impacted, and they're impacted not only in how they could take care of themselves, but also intergenerational trauma.
Mm.
So my mom is from White Shell, and so she remembers when they were flooding and those waters coming up, and she's seen her elders and her relatives crying as a result of their lands being flooded and their homes that they had been living in for several generations going underwater. So there's stuff like that you hear, and that she carried that, and so she talked about that. And that, that's in addition to the boarding school stuff that we also hear about that. Dakota Goodhouse here is on campus, and he talks about the Bismarck boarding school, which we don't hear a lot about, and the boarding school students that were there. And in his research, what he found out, which was news to us as a family, was that he found out that my grandma, who's from down Kennel area on my dad's side, they're Hunkpapa down there, and what happened is that she was at this boarding school. She ran away from this boarding school, and then my grandma on my mom's side,
Mm-hmm.
she ran away from this boarding school. So we hear these incidents of what happened right there, and that how that may have impacted our family coming this way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's been I think it's been and I don't, and the thing about being well is that I don't think we always realize what we're carrying. That we might be carrying stuff that's not even ours,
Right.
that's impacting us today and how we interact with society, how we interact with our families, how we act as individuals. So it's but I think as we come this way in time and we try to heal, I think, and we recognize those things, I think we realize that we have to come through that we have to, if we want to be well, we're going to have to. So it's not just putting the drink down, but there's stuff beyond that.
Right.
So I know, like when I sobered up or when I was still drinking, put people up here like this, and people that didn't drink, and I would, I'd say, oh, and then when I sobered up, and my idea of being sober and being well and being healthy, I could see that they were doing things that were unhealthy,
Mm-hmm.
and these people that I looked up to. And so my point is that realize that we're all human, and that we're all maybe going through some stuff. Yeah, and it's not just the drink that's happening, or the drug that's going on. So
Yes, sir. What was the turning point that started your journey of almost 32 years of sobriety?
well, you kind of got to go back. My AA guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm a 12-step guy, and so kind of um, I was I was thinking about this because I just I was telling you guys I just coming back from Spirit Lake this evening, and but my folks, uh, they used to party up as a 70s, so everybody's kind of drinking around that time, so they had parties at the house and stuff, and as kids were there exposed to that, and then that just became normal. So I was like, I think some of you guys might be remember sitting in the car getting some plain chips and pop, orange pop. Yeah. So, and if you're lucky, you got some beer nuts or something,
Yeah.
and then the folks are in there
Or
and
some beer.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that came later,
Yeah.
so then, so we kind of grew up like that. And so that was the kind of the norm at that time. And so then, like when I was 12 or 13, I'd steal their beers and stuff at the party and stuff, and then I'd sell it back to them the next day. And then I'd go and use the money and go buy some comics or something, but
Early in the morning,
yeah,
trying to get that last little corner.
yeah, they're all out, and so they were paying, so and maybe that's where I kind of start learning on hustle a little bit, but and then eventually me and my friends started drinking those drinks instead and kind of got into it and then kind of started smoking a little weed in addition to that because you got to get that beer and that weed high.
Yeah.
I heard the weed's a lot stronger nowadays, but back then,
Yeah. It
and
had you butt naked in traffic if
yeah,
you don't pay
yeah,
attention.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And then in high school, start drinking a little wine, Boone's Farm and that kind of stuff, TJ Swan
Yeah.
and
Night
then
Train.
yeah, yeah. So,
Mad Dog
Mad
2020.
Dog 2020. And so and then but I was working and it wasn't too much I feel like I felt like I wasn't an alcoholic at that time.
Right.
I was just experimenting. I was kind of going through that phase. And then I went in the service, went army for a couple years and
What year was that?
81,
Okay.
81 to 84.
Yep.
And it was right after Vietnam. So there was a lot of Vietnam guys in there. And those guys are drug addicts, man.
Oh, I know.
They like to party and stuff. And so we got in there and they're all sergeants. They're like NCOs. They've been in there. And so us guys are all young guys. We're like 18, 19, but we're partying with them and stuff. And but other drugs start coming out, and so we had coke in there, anything you wanted was in the barracks at the time. And it was a 3-strike rule, so they wouldn't kick you out. I mean, you'd have to if you pop positive, you had to go to counseling and that type of thing. And then but coke, um, acid, heroin, hash. When we were overseas, and I was in Germany, just hash. There was no marijuana. I didn't understand that.
Same thing in England.
Yeah,
So I was stationed in England, and
yeah,
it was hash.
yeah,
One thing I learned about the military, brother, it will make you a professional drinker.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
I don't know what it is about it, but we drink like it's a sport.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah. Yes, sir. And then you'd have that military ID. And so like I was down in Georgia for school.
Get it for cheap.
Yeah, and then the thing is that you got to be 21 in Georgia. But
In,
I was
in Europe and England, you have to be 18.
yeah. But you show that military ID, even if you weren't 21, you got in the bars. So we're young guys, man. We're partying, we're fresh out of high school, and then while in Germany, that was like little kids. You couldn't little kids would be going and buying beers. So I don't know if they drank 'em, but maybe dad said go down to the little newspaper place and get me a newspaper and a beer, son. I don't know. But we just seen it and we just observed that Germany's different though, different culture. And I think maybe that's
Oktoberfest.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Don't ask, don't tell, right?
no speed limit. Um, Prostitution's legal. What else?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Tell
just
us all your deepest, darkest secrets, President.
yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Nude beaches. Yeah, so I was young back then. All right,
yeah.
come on.
Look, I heard they got some pictures floating around somewhere.
You never know on this internet, man. But so got out of the service, and then kind of the restrictions are off, and I get home, and I'm partying, and everybody's glad to see you home, so everybody's partying hard with you, and for about a year, and I think somewhere about after that year, somewhere in there is when it happened, and I needed a drink that one morning, and I'm shaking a little bit, and I'm still young yet, I'm still like I'm 21, 22, but I needed that drink in the morning.
That's when you cross that invisible line.
Yeah, and then I'm in it, and then and then and then I'm in and out, and then I ended up having an alcohol withdrawal seizure. Not long after that, ended up down at Fort Meade. There's a treatment down there. My first one, and then I ended up in and out of treatment for the next 10 years. And by the time I got that last one, um, and I always think about this is that was it all the treatments that worked together?
How many was it?
16. But that last one was
You
16.
had a lot of rascal in you.
Yeah, I should have just all went at one year or something. 16 months, one shot instead of going every other year. So so it kind of worked itself out. But I was learning stuff all the way along. So when you see those coins and stuff, those 30-day coins, I had a bunch of those 30-day
Yeah.
coins. Because I got
Yeah, you made a duffel bag out
yeah,
of them.
So got out of there. But what happened is at the end, I was always good at school. But in the end there, I was failing out of college because I was still trying to go to school. I got a 2-year degree from our college at home, Chandeska Chicana. Transferred up to Minot and made it about 3 semesters there before I drank myself out of there. Then I went home. And all this time I'm trying to quit. I'm kind of like on treatment 15 then. And then I quit trying to quit. And I said, I must be, because you read the big book and stuff like that, and you hear stories and stuff. I must be one of those guys that are just going to die drinking.
Right.
And I'm not even going to try anymore. And that was the first step, even though I didn't know it.
Right.
So I'm not even going to try to stop drinking anymore. So I just went home and drank, but I always work too. So I'm always working and drinking. I'm working to drink. And then I had some jobs where it allowed me to kind of like go out and take a couple nips, while I was on the job and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And I always had some weed on me and smoke it up a little bit and try to maintain that buzz. And then I get on these jags where I just really drink hard.
Mhm.
And I'd wake up and I didn't know if it was evening or morning,
Right.
you know.
I'm just gonna drink beer now. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna drink beer. How did that work?
I'm just gonna get high now, and I'm gonna quit drinking here. And but then so those times but it got to the point where I'd wake up and this is my day. I get up and I just throw up, man, and then just clean and hit that bathroom pretty hard too, and then just be shaky. And then and I needed a drink to just kind of even out. I needed a drink to feel normal. And I think some of you guys know that there. And when you're detoxing, man, and those and you're feeling that, you feel like I'm gonna die.
Mhm.
I'm gonna die if I don't get a drink.
Mhm.
And that's hard. And you're kind of like sometimes I used to make deals with God and say, "Help me out, God." But I kind of like I don't really want to bother God, and I start backing away from praying and spirituality and that type of thing.
Mhm.
And uh, and and then one day I'm sitting there and I come down. I'm staying at my sister's house and nobody's there. I'm there by myself. And I'm upstairs in a room and I get up and all that, throw up, get ready and I need a shower. And then but I come downstairs and I say, man, I got a jug down there. So I get down there, get my jug, and it's a half a G because I'm only drinking wine by then.
Mhm.
I can't hold down beer anymore. I hit that beer, comes right back up. I hit that hard stuff, comes right back up. And that's why people start to say, I'm never gonna be a wino. That's how I got to wine. So wine is a pretty good buy too, because you can get 450 for a half.
Yeah.
So I take that half like this, and you're kind of shaky and you're really weak when you're like that. And I get that half up there, and I'm just spilling that wine on me, and I'm like, days. So I put it down here, and I had a big Hardy's cup, and I poured the wine in the Hardy's cup, and then I get that Hardy's cup like this, and I get it up in there, and I get a couple of shots, and I
Yeah.
set it down like this.
You should have got 2 straws.
Oh yeah, there you
Mhm.
go. So that did you see that show with Mickey Rourke?
Mm.
I don't know. I can't remember that show, the name of the show, but he's trying to get that drink up, so he ties a scarf around his hand, and then he pulls that scarf to get that drink up there. Did you
Yeah.
guys see that? And I could just relate to Mickey, man. But anyway, anyway, I'm sitting there like this, like this. I put the thing down, and I'm sitting there, and I'm shot, man. And I've been drinking like 3 or 4 weeks hard every day, and blacking out, coming to, and then and I didn't even know how. I didn't even know where I was getting my money to make sure I had a drink the next day. And then behind me, I hear there's a better way to, there's a better way to live than this. And I'm sitting there, and I just say, yeah, yeah. And then I start, and I turn around and look, but there's nobody there. And so then, and I don't know where that voice came from. So anyway, I take more shots. I'm on my big Hardy's cup there, even out, gonna even out a little bit. Go upstairs, take a shower. When you're detoxing like that too, and you guys who drink hard know this. Your skin, you get that your skin smells like that booze and the smokes. It's just like it's coming out of your pores, and that's how your is, and you're sweating all the time. So even though you take a shower, about a half hour later, that smells back.
Right.
So you guys, anybody that drink hard know that. So anyway, got cleaned up, got went up to the chemical health back at the tribe, and they said, hey, they all know me over there. And then they said, well, and they said, we can get you in, Russ, but we got to do this assessment with you. So they do this assessment with you, me, and they said, well, they asked you, when was your last drink? I said, right before I came in here, because I have my jug in a car. All right, well, we can't get you in today, so come back tomorrow. So the next day I go back, then they get me in. And then I go back, same thing, go down to Jamestown State Hospital, alcohol wing, walk in there, hey, Russ, good to see you're still alive yet. They weren't trying to be funny. They were really serious. And so they get me in there, and then it's about 3 or 4 days, and then they take me in front of this panel like this, and they got these tables here, and uh, and all these doctors in white coats and counselors are sitting around, and I know half of them, half the counselors, and they say, asked me a few questions, and they said, "Hey, we got a new program here. We want to know. We got a new program here for guys like you."
Yeah.
And I've been here a lot of times. We want to know if you're interested in getting it. And I said, yeah, yeah, let's try it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not even eating yet, man. It's been like 3 or 4 days. Yeah, you're still kind of shaky. You're kind of weak about walking. I said, yeah. So they said, all right, we'll get you in there. And then it was almost weekend, so it went on through the weekend. Next week they get me in that room, and we go in that room, and there's about 6 or 7 of us in there, and then and the guy's sitting in there, and he says, the counselor, and he says, um, if you do everything I say, I'm going to guarantee that you get sober.
Mm-hmm.
I will guarantee you'll get sober if you do everything I say.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, shit, let's do it.
Right.
Try it.
That's
I'm
kind of
out there.
the point I was at. I had no other options.
Yeah. And I'm sitting there, and everybody in there is like me. They've been there. I don't remember any of them being in treatment the same time I was, but anyway, so we're sitting there like that, and we go and we start going through the big book. And the one thing that I remember about that too is that, I had been to treatment before and I had done inventories before. But in my inventories, I always put down the bad things I did. And there was some good things I did. And when he talked us through that, he said, I want you to put both the good and the bad down. Don't just concentrate on the bad. But if you remember doing anything good, I want you to put that down too. And I was a pretty good son, I think. I helped my folks. I cut grass. I fixed their house for them, and so fixed their cars for them. I thought there was things that I had done, I sing Indian little bits, so we'd go and help people and sing that way, so there was things that we did along those lines. So I mean that we forget about, that because we're feeling that guilt that you're talking about
Mm-hmm.
earlier, that guilt about using about, and maybe not fulfilling all your commitments. So that guilt's carrying around, and that guilt is so heavy on us that we forget that there's some good things that we may have done. So it just, getting through that inventory, I just wanted to I remember that. The other part is that the men's piece when I got out and then going around and making amends, and then realizing too is that um, when you make amends, I asked them about this, and this is not nothing original for me, but it's from that last treatment. I said, I said, on regard to making amends, what do we all do there? He said, you go tell them that you're sorry, and for whatever you've done, except when it's going to hurt them. If it's going to hurt them, then you don't do that amends. So, not to you can't do amends for your own benefit, so, and sacrifice somebody else's health, for you to feel better. So you gotta kind of balance that part of it. But the other part of it too is that once you've done your amends, you don't have to do it again. You don't have to, you don't have to, you don't have to make amends over and over again for whatever's happened with
For
you.
the same thing.
Right. Right. So it's kind of
It's
like,
usually new things.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like paying a bill. So you paid that bill for November. You don't have to pay the bill for November again. You only have to make pay that bill that once. And that's the amends piece. So long as you've done that, that kind of helps you to go on and move on. And the other part is that if everything goes well, but sometimes it doesn't. If everything goes well, then yeah, now you can look somebody in the eye.
Yep.
Now you can hopefully be friends with those people that
Right.
you've hurt.
What has long-term sobriety taught you about leadership?
I've come to realize that I think most of all is that we got to be straight up. And I think that's in any relationship that we do,
Mhm.
but in leadership, just be really transparent in what we're doing. Here's what we're doing. Here's how we're doing it. And what happens here, and and being a chairman, is that what I heard all the time was that pe- people just wanted a fair shake. People just wanted to be treated the same. So we didn't want to um, we didn't want to treat somebody different just because that was our relative. So those are some of the things that we've seen there. Being transparent in regard to that work that we're doing, whatever it might be, and people appreciated that, and they would work for you, or they would follow you, or work with you.
Mhm.
So, and I think that's so important for us if for this type of work and for all work really.
Yes, sir. How do you stay grounded in stressful days and stressful moments, especially being a president of a college?
I think that's an ongoing thing. I think it's a maintenance thing. It's not we can't just say, "Oh, hey God, hey higher power, come and help me out today," because things are being, feeling kind of bad today.
Mhm.
But we got to be there all the time. We got to have that relationship all the
Right.
time. We got to, that when things are good, thank you. When things are bad, thank you. So I mean, it's because who we are today is everything that we've come through, whether it's negative or positive, that's brought us to who we are today. And so, and then now trying to be these good people, trying to do this maintenance piece in order to help us uh, to 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 be able to stay sober for those real stressful times.
Yep.
Yeah.
Got to stay on the beam, balanced, for when those times do come, because they will come. It's not all unicorns and rainbows, they say. The
Yeah.
yellow brick road. What advice would you give to students or staff who are in early recovery?
I think the first year is the toughest. I think the first year is the toughest for me because I drank for everything.
Mhm.
I drank if I was mad. I drank if I was happy. And so I had to find other ways of celebrating the successes or some failures that were happening through the course of that life. And um, so one thing is like when I first got in a relationship with
Mhm.
the woman I'm married to now,
Mhm.
is that when I first got in a relationship, and what happened before in other relationships before her was like we get into it, or I'd get into it that person, and then I'm out of here, and I take off, and
Yeah.
I go on a ripper for a couple of weeks, you know.
Walking down an old country road, pitch dark, right?
Yeah. And so with my current wife, not, well, my only wife, I guess I don't. It sounds kind of bad.
How long you been married? How long y'all been married?
uh, this year it'll be 30 years. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So
uh,
that was like what, 2 years into sobriety?
yeah.
Almost?
Well, it was like 6 months because they say don't hook up for for a year.
Yeah. You know why
I
they
mean,
say, you know why they say it?
tell me.
It's because say if you meet somebody else that's in recovery and one person relapses or the other person relapses, 9 times out of 10, you're going to relapse with them. I've actually seen somebody relapse, die. The other person was so sad they relapsed and died too. Not together, but like separately, like because of the mourning. And also, they say finances and romances will be the first thing to take you out the game. Because say if you get your heart broken, you're singing an old country cowboy song, you know what I mean? You and your dog, and that'll take you out the game too because you're not strong enough emotionally to be able to deal with that. I tried a relationship 2 years in sobriety, and if I would have never been strong enough in my recovery, I would have fell off. Cause I mean, that was crazy. You know what I mean? And but I was able to get out of there. You know how you get out of a bad relationship, brother? You pack up and leave, and don't say bye, nothing. Just block her phone number. You know what I mean? Sometimes you got to move across the whole United States, for real. Well, congratulations on your 30 years of marriage, brother, and almost 32 years of sobriety.
Yeah, thank you.
Um, how can colleges better support students affected by generational trauma, like outside of United Tribes?
I think we have to come to that first to that awareness,
Mhm.
and I think they have to strategically or consciously carve out funds in order to get those personnel, provide those personnel to their students.
Mhm.
So we're a little bit different here at United Tribes because we have we're eligible for these. They're called 638 funds for our wellness department. So as a result of that, we have some counselors here. We can do activities like this, and so but the other colleges don't have these funds.
Okay.
And so as a result of that, they don't as a result of not having funds, they don't sometimes don't have those resources.
Right.
So they end up putting that on advisors or counselors within their systems in order to have those connections for them to uh, connect their students with those resources.
So the 638 funds, is that just tribal colleges?
No, I mean, well, it's for all the tribal colleges don't have it either.
Okay.
We're set up here like a tribal entity. So as a result of that, we're eligible for those 638s.
Mm.
Those other tribal colleges, they're not eligible for them. So they because their tribes get those monies, not the colleges.
Okay. Um, how does UTC support holistic wellness besides like just going to the doctor and getting a pill? Mind, body, and spirit community.
Well, I think what we have to do is that we recognize one of the things that we're in an urban environment. So if somebody goes to a certain particular type of church, like a Catholic church or Assembly of God or Baptist or that's available to them here in town.
Mhm.
So for us, we've been concentrating on traditional healing practices and having a sweat lodge available here.
Right.
Sometimes having ceremony if needed to help those individuals or connecting with some of the cultural resources in the surrounding area to provide those services for us or those ceremonies for us to help us that way. The other part too is that we start a lot of our meetings in prayer. I know in the leadership meetings we do that constantly. Everybody takes turns praying in regard to that work. So
Mhm.
we really rely upon, I think, um, the creator to kind of help us give us that guidance. Um, but I think for the most part, we have to do our part
Mhm.
and make sure that those things are in place for our students and this campus community.
See, when I first got here, people like I would finally start meeting some people,
Mm.
and they were even Native Americans like they were so interested in my culture coming from New Orleans, but I would be so interested in the Native American culture here because I read about it in history class growing up, And that's what so amazed me is because everything I learned in history classes and heard about was here, the Lewis and Clark, the you know what I mean, the different chiefs, everything. And so I was so amazed and interested in it. But I'm getting drunk with somebody getting high, and they're like, "Man, shut up, pass that thing." You know what I mean? Uh, but the first time that I ever went to uh, an EP, a sweat lodge, was on United Tribes.
Mm.
I think I was a few months sober, and it was here, you know, and that's where I started my sweat lodge journey. And I see you have an Earth Lodge now. And one day, me and my family pulled up, and they had a guy. It was just like an odd day of the week, and they had a guy in there making maple syrup.
Why?
I'd never seen that before. I didn't even know maple syrup came from trees. Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
I didn't. And so that I was like asking questions, you know, like what, and he had like this machine, and it was smoking, and it was making syrup,
Mm.
you know, and then you have a great professor here, Riley Knight.
Yep.
And I've been able to go to sweat lodges at his house, and he built his own Earth Lodge in his backyard, and I learned a lot from them as well. And I'm very thankful for that, you know, because I respect and I accept other people's cultures, you know, because I come from a whole different culture. So everywhere that I've been on this planet Earth, I've been different. You know what I mean? So I know how it feels. And so that's one thing my grandmother always taught me, like to love people and respect them and learn their culture. So when I was overseas, I never had any issues in any country that I ever went to. Um, and so that's one thing I'm very thankful for starting my NEP Sweat Lodge journey here.
Well, I think you hit on a good point there is that um, when we sit around these tables like this and trying to get sober, try to stay sober, try to help others to be sober, we talk about being giving it away. The giving it away part is just telling our story.
Mhm.
And the thing is that, is that we don't know what somebody needs to hear. So we come in these rooms and we share our stories, and we're and hopeful and what I my belief is that this far along is that God's here with me, with all of us,
Mhm.
and whatever we're sharing, that's coming out, and those words are coming out because God never come and I think God come and talk to me that went to get sober,
Yeah.
but other than that, not, so these rooms and hearing these voices and hearing people share what they share, and not even knowing what you need to hear going in those rooms, but you hear it. If you're true about this, and you'll hear what you need to hear in order to keep on going down this good road. And
Mhm.
th- and that and what you need to hear in those messages, the spirituality piece that everybody was talking about, which I couldn't find
Mhm.
until that last treatment, was is there. But I was looking all over in these churches for it, and I was going to all these different churches, going to ceremonies, but I couldn't find it. And here I found it. It was right here all this time. So and then but going in my path was going through those steps in order to find that.
Mhm.
And but it might not be the same for everybody. Somebody might find that through a church. Somebody might find that through the NEPI. Somebody might find it through a ceremony. However way they find it is okay. And so that's that respect for one another and how we come to find our spirituality to help us stay on this good road.
Mhm.
And so and what happens is as we go into these rooms and outside of these rooms, there's folks that are not alcoholics that have that same spirituality.
Mhm.
And sometimes we hear from them what we need to hear.
Right.
So but the spirituality piece is the part that's worked for me and
Mhm.
then worked for others out there. But we have to find that. We have to get to that in order to be there. And sometimes but we got to do the work.
Right.
You know.
And so to be a college president, do you have to have a PhD?
But here you do.
Okay.
And most colleges, you're gonna have to have a PhD or EDD,
Mhm.
which is a doctorate of education or a doctor of philosophy in order to uh, to get a position here to
Did you
meet the qualifications.
did you teach at UND?
I taught a couple courses over there,
What did you teach?
basically research methodologies,
Mm-hmm.
and then but I was doing a lot of research up there. And the research methodology that I was focused on, even though we didn't say it, was really focused on researching American Indian populations.
Mhm.
So we did a lot of work there in that regard. So we wrote the grants for that. We did the research. We crunched the numbers. We wrote the papers in order to do that work. And then, and it was all focused on native elders. So we were helping our elders while doing that. And then we traveled all over the nation in order to do that work. So we got to see all those different cultures out there.
Mhm.
And so we was up in New London, Connecticut one time. We went to do our training over there. So I'm going, I give my tobacco to an elder to say, hey, can you do a prayer for us? Because that's how we do stuff here. But they didn't do it that way. So so she's hitting up her other sister over there and say, hey, what's this for? And so we have to recognize that it's different.
Yeah.
Another just a cultural piece too is like for us is that up here in the Great Plains, it's that our women don't um, sit around the drum or
Yeah.
that but if you go out to Northwest, they 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 have drum. The women have drums over there
Mhm.
up in Alaska. So there's differences wherever you go.
Yeah.
In
Same
regard.
in AA.
Yeah. Yep.
The way that people construct a meeting and different things, you go to different parts of the country and it'd be like, well, this is different. You know what I mean? But it's all for one purpose, to help people to stay sober and to have spirituality. So I got a couple personal questions for you. What was your favorite cartoon of all times? You know you got one. That one cartoon that you love to watch.
I like Spider-Man.
Spider-Man? Hit him with your web, huh? Boys?
Yeah.
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 Out of all the places you traveled in the world, which one was the most marvelous place that you think? And then describe it to us.
Um, I remember uh, Birch's Gardens up in Germany,
Mm-hmm.
up in the mountains, and real beautiful. That's where Hitler's place was at,
Yeah.
and but real
What you
beautiful.
was doing up there?
We were, well, they used to have these little tours on when you're in a service where you for like $90, which is a lot of money for us. But we'd get in these little tours and we go to these places. And but what was there? It was not just the beauty of the place. And then we went over to Austria where you seen the Sound of Beauty was. Remember she's dancing in that big field. We
Mhm.
went over there, and but it wasn't just the beauty of the place, but is how we were treated there as Americans,
Right,
and they loved Americans there
right,
because a huge part of the war was happened there, and so they were thankful for Americans for being there. But
right.
if we were going over Frankfurt, where us guys are, our post was at, they didn't like
Yep.
Americans. They hated Americans over
And,
there.
and
So
and that's what I found when I was in England. That the further I get away from the base, the more they like me. You
yeah,
know what
yeah,
I mean?
yep.
I'd be like, I'm on tour. I'm not in the military. You know, I don't know what I was on tour for, but I was on tour. Um, what is one place that you haven't been to in the world that you would love to visit before you die?
Hudson Bay. I don't know why, but it's just north of here, and and it's kind of wilderness,
Yep.
and you just want to hit on some wilderness areas before it goes away.
Y'all heard it first. If y'all trying to get some brownie points, Hudson Bay. um, what's your favorite food? If you was on death row and they said, "What you want on your tombstone?" What would it be? I mean, just any meal.
I'm kind of a green chili stew guy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can cook it, and so I kind of try to refine that recipe,
Right.
and then I became a bread maker over pandemic.
Uh-huh.
So
Also, you make bread,
I make bread.
fried bread.
I make fry bread. I make pan bread. I make gullet. I make boo bread. I've kind of been refining those recipes, and it's been going pretty good.
I know I seen that fried bread they got at the Blue Butte Grill.
Yeah.
I mean, they like this. You know what I mean? Y'all probably sharing recipes over there.
Yeah, that's those are my boys over there.
Um, any expectations of any new things coming up as far as the powwow this year? And it's the international powwow. So is this like one of the biggest where all different tribes come together, or what does it make? Because I know like a lot of people come to this powwow. What makes it so special?
Well, I think it's just a really a legacy. And so at one time is that we had the largest prize money here within the state. So it's kind of like a place where all the champions came to.
Dancing.
Yeah. And so when I was younger, I'd come to the powwow. I wasn't dancing back then, but you had people from all the way from Washington would come here to dance and to contest off. This is and then one of the first ones that was that large. And so then the other powwows start popping up after that. Other prize money start coming up. So, but we still get to hang on to that legacy
Right.
and that reputation of being a good powwow.
It is.
Yeah.
It's
So,
always packed and it's always pretty amazing.
yeah.
I mean, I've been every year since I got sober, I think.
Mm,
Maybe last year I missed it, but all the other years.
yeah. Well, the other part too is that I think that all the funds that we raise from that too goes to the students. So,
Okay.
so that's kind of a good tie-in for everybody too in regard to, I know we get a little bit complaints because we, had to pay to get in here to the
Right.
powwow, but at the same time, just I hope in back of people's minds are saying, well, I'm helping out my students, I'm helping out my young relatives over there to get their education done.
Right. So I'm gonna be honest with you, and I'm gonna call this a moment of amnesty. So before I got sober in my first 2 years in North Dakota, I've been on United Tribes in a dorm room with a student drinking and getting high. How is that affected the college? Things like that. Is it getting worse? Is it getting better? Um, and how do you preach to new students that are finally away from home that may have a baby living with them there and they got like this baby daddy that comes from back home and he brings all his nonsense up here? How do you uh try to get through to students to not fall into that trap and then now they not even getting a degree anymore and they go back home?
Well, we try to let them know right off the bat. So we'll have a luncheon with them. I'll go talk to them myself and visit with them, and I'll share for them. I said, if we don't have nothing against having a couple beers or anything along that lines, but if if you want to do that, don't live here
Mhm.
because if you live here and you try to do that here, sooner or later we're going to catch you
Right.
and we're going to write you up, and if we catch you enough times, you're going to be out of here. So just trying to emphasize that and then being consistent in regard to that. We have a student code of conduct here in regard to that. But if they're here and if they have alcohol in their homes and we find that or in their dorm rooms or drugs, then we find that out, then they go in front of student code of conduct. In some cases, not so much on the alcohol part, but on the drugs, we'll call law enforcement. Law enforcement come on, and sometimes either write them a ticket or arrest them.
Right.
And we try to be really consistent with that in regard to those students, and then just being really transparent with them and saying, "Hey, this is how it is right here." And I think it goes towards what we're trying to vision here, is that we're trying to create a safe, excuse me, a safe, nurturing environment
Mhm.
based in culture here on this campus.
Right.
And alcohol and drugs were not part of our culture.
Right.
So that's where we're going, and just letting. But I think the main thing is just letting folks know, hey, but if they're coming here and they do have some issues, then we have wellness and we have our counselors here to try to help them.
Yeah,
You
and
know,
you can catch it on the front line
yeah.
uh beforehand. And this is just not here. This is all colleges and universities across the United States, the world. You know, you have people that they want to try things, you know, and things like that. Um, you ever thought about, you know how you go into college and they got all those blue lights every so many feet? You know,
Mm,
you know what I'm talking about?
yeah.
That was the first thing I thought about when you was like, we're gonna make this a culture here, you know, we're gonna save. But like I've been on some places that have like those blue light, I don't know what they're called. You know what I mean? It's like every 50 feet or 100 feet, they got a blue light you can run to it. And that's just something that popped in my head. I don't know if I was supposed to say that or not, but maybe that's something that could be thought about in the future.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Walking around campus at night or whatever. But in my sober life, everything that I've came here and been a part of has been amazing. Coming to the haunted house that they have, me and my son, we've been in the last 2 years, and those guys that or outside, dressed up with the crowd. That was pretty amazing, and the power walls are pretty amazing. And coming here with Res Recovery speaking was awesome. I think continuing having events like this brings awareness. You know what I mean? Even if people don't want to pay attention, they think they're too cool for it. I think this is great things that you and your staff are doing.
Thank you. Thank you. That old building over there really is haunted. So
The building I went in, man, I knew I felt weird after that.
no, but that's a fun fundraiser too in a partnership with Horan Harmon Group.
Right.
And I think this last year I think we raised 16,000 for students, and then recognized our partners out here as well as the students who received those funds. So
Right.
yeah.
I know around the end of every season of semesters or whatever, graduation time,
Mm.
I always see people graduating, and on average, how many graduates do you have a year?
It's been running around 150.
150?
And so our little gym here, so our capacity for this little gym is 488 people, according to the fire marshal.
Mhm.
And so then, and we can't pack them in here. So that's why we've been going out to Bismarck Event Center. And so we rent that place from them and set up the sound and lighting system up there. And so, but it's a little spendy to go up there. But what we figure is that we have 150 graduates. We give them about 10 guests a piece. So if you multiply that out, that's 1,500. That's far exceeds 488.
Mhm.
So but with the new gym, that'll be right around capacity be right around 1,600. But I think the main thing about that one is that it'll give us the opportunity or the option to go outside to the arena out here and have our graduation out there. We
Mm.
had it out there 2 years ago, and the graduates really loved it. The families really loved it. It was a beautiful day outside, and it really went well.
Mhm.
So that'll give us the opportunity. If it rains, all we gotta do is come back in the gym.
Right.
But Bismarck Event Center, you got to schedule it a year in
Right.
advance. So we're scheduled for the next 4 years out with the event center. But we're hoping that gym's built in 2 years. So
Mhm.
we'll have to relook at that contract with those guys.
Yes, sir. Um, I want to thank you for doing this with Sober Talk. I want to thank you for doing it with me. I feel like me and you have bonded.
Mm.
If you ever need anything, just give me a shout. And I want to thank your staff. But anyone in the crowd, you have microphones on your tables. There's a button you can press on there. If you have any questions for me or the president. Anybody? One question? Back up.
What's my phone? Oops. Can you teach me how to make gullet?
Yeah,
She's serious.
yeah. I got a recipe. I'll share with
I'm very much so serious. I've been looking everywhere for gullet.
you. Even at the recipe though, it, it comes out different after you make it like 10 or 20 times. It comes out different. It just gets better and better. I don't know why it's like that. But yeah, no problem. I'll share a recipe with you.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Original recipe from the Turtle Mountains.
Mm. Anybody? This is your time. If you go to school here or if you just want to add something, go ahead. Going once, going twice. So to the man with the blow pop hat on in the back. Yeah, that's you. Nah, nobody? You got any questions? Ask me a question. Okay. All right. Well, thank y'all for attending. If you didn't get a free hoodie or a free shirt, make sure to grab one on the way out. I want to thank the counseling department for helping me out, staying in contact with me, and putting this event together. And I want to thank you, President, for all you do and making a legacy here. You know what I mean? It really does impact generations and different people that are coming here. And so thank you. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to another episode of Sober Talk with Brothers Brandon, the Raging Cajun. It's the weekend, baby. I want to thank Derek, Daily Media, for helping us with the IT department and making sure everything runs smoothly today. I want to thank my beautiful wife for helping out and speaking some of her testimony, experience, strength, and hope. But if anybody wants to be a guest on the show, if anybody wants to do an event, or you just have some ideas, send me a message and we will help you. But just remember this: if you can't stay sober, catch a Uber. In the words of my great grand sponsor, Jack Height, if nobody told you, we love you, baby. Peace and fried bread grease. Thank you, brother. Hope I don't like you.
Sober Talk with Brother Brandon, the Raging Cajun.